Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and a very warm welcome to Bloomberg. My name is Constantin. Cotzias. I'm a director here at Bloomberg, and it's a real pleasure to welcome you all here this afternoon to our European headquarters. Here at Bloomberg, we strongly believe in the importance of facilitating dialogue between policymakers and the business community. So it's a pleasure to welcome you here for the launch of the IIRC Integrated Reporting Framework. There really is a great lineup of speakers today. A very quick note on Bloomberg. Whilst many of you here will know us for our financial and business news and data, we do also provide in-depth research and analysis on many of the pillars around which the consultation invites contributions: transparency, environmental, social, governance and sustainability. And in addition, our agency brokerage Tradebook is working with a number of the leading independent research providers in this space, bringing their work to the broader global investment community. So with that, let me now hand over to Russell Picot, Group Chief Accounting Officer for HSBC and IIRC, that's a tough one, Council member and participant of the pilot program. Russell, welcome.
Well, thanks very much, Constantin, and what a wonderful location this is to launch the programme in London. Thank you very much to you and Bloomberg for enabling us to come here. I actually wear 2 or 3 hats today. I'm a member of the IIRC Council. I'm HSBC's Chief Accounting Officer. I also chair the Asset and Liability Committee of HSBC's main UK pension scheme, which invests something like £18 billion. So I have a number of different perspectives on integrated reporting, and one reason why I'm here today is to lend our support to what we think is a really significant and important initiative in the corporate reporting space. It's obviously celebrating the launch of the consultative draft of the framework, and in 15 different events around the world today, similar events are happening with support of 6 national stock exchanges, and so far we've reached over 1,200 people. So there's obviously gathering momentum, reflecting the huge amount of work that's been done so far today. So I'm going to cover the journey of integrated reporting so far, talk a little bit about how we've got to today's launch of the consultative draft, and give quite a personal perspective on what I think the issues are and why I think this is an important step forward in the corporate reporting evolution. So who is the IIRC and where did we come from? Well, it's a private sector body. It was established in 2010. If you come from the UK, many of you will be familiar with the work done by the Accounting for Sustainability programme, which was established by the Prince of Wales, and you'll be familiar with the GRI work internationally. And what IIRC is a global market-led coalition that has come to get together to endeavour to develop a new corporate reporting model that is fit for the future. And this very nice geometric diagram sets out the very different stakeholders that are involved with this. The chairman of the IIRC, many of you will know Professor Mervyn King from South Africa, and the chief executive officer is Paul Druckmann, that also is widely known. They're both overseas at different launch events, and that's obviously very, very important to get international recognition. So who's involved? Well, I'll start off with the investors because I think that's the right place to start. So over 50 institutional investors around the world are involved within the IIRC. We have companies from every single continent, as widely spread as South America through Asia, Europe, North America, Middle East and Africa. So companies like Unilever, Tata from India, Microsoft, China Light and Power, obviously HSBC and many others. A number of NGOs are involved. The WWF in the UK is involved, for example. Different accounting firms are involved. IFAC is involved. Both FASB and the ISB sit on the council, and a number of regulators, including the Financial Stability Board. So you can see this is a unique group bringing together stakeholders from 6 different segments of society to come together with a single purpose. At the heart of what we've been trying to do is the IIRC pilot program. That's very important because what that does is to enable experimentation, and there's 2 pieces of that. Firstly, there's an investor piece, and the investor network comprises over 30 institutional investors from around the world, and that's been established since March 2012. And a business network, so for example HSBC is part of that business network. Over 85 businesses from around the world joined into that network, which has been going since October 2011. And what these networks do is provide both a forum within which investors and or users can talk to each other about what it is they would like to try and achieve. It enables safe experimentation. So many of you will be familiar, for example, with the benefits of the UK Financial Reporting Laboratory and this concept of private sector initiatives where companies can actually come up with their own ideas, and instead of having to field test them publicly, they can actually field test them in a private way. So the existence of these two networks first of all enables the corporates to actually discuss with each other their own ideas about how they might embrace corporate reporting and how they might drive it forward. And then second, and really importantly, it enables them to hop over into the investor world and have a discussion. So for example, it would enable a company to produce a draft integrated report and share that with a group of institutional investors and get feedback within a private network before they actually go public. And that has been very helpful in terms of us driving forward the development of the draft framework which you've seen today. So the mission of the IIRC, what's the key objective? Key objective is to demonstrate the linkages between an organisation's strategy, its governance, and its financial performance, and also the social, environmental, economic context within it operates. We're seeking to develop a network, a framework which is accepted globally, covering strategy, governance, and these other areas. And we don't want it to be voluminous. We would like it to be clear, we would like it to be concise, and we'd like integrated reports to be comparable, both from period to period and within industries. And for us, this represents a very significant evolution of corporate reporting. At the moment, this is a voluntary private sector initiative, so this relies on effectively responsible corporations coming together and recognising the benefits of adopting integrated reporting. And we hope that there will be a very significant groundswell of support from the investors, and clearly the involvement of ISB and FASB is also very important in order to support this work. I'm sure many of you will recognise what we recognise, which is that the existing corporate reporting framework is too narrow, it's too complex, and it's very heavily focused on financial information, generally in a backward-looking manner. And frankly, I think most would say that it's now insufficient to provide all the information that all stakeholders are now asking for in modern society. What we believe integrated reporting will do is to provide better, more informed decision-making by stakeholders. That in turn should lead to more efficient allocation of capital and the creation and preservation of value, and eventually a more sustainable global economy. And you'll see within the investor and other packs that are out there today, and Michael Nugent will comment on this, at the heart of integrated reporting are what we've described as being the 6 capitals. What you'll see is a traditional financial capital, obviously very important but not uniquely so, the concept of manufactured capital, intellectual capital, human, social and relationship, and natural capital. And you can see there is a very broad spread of inputs to a corporation's activities. And this breadth very much is important within integrated reporting. So the journey so far. Discussion paper was produced and a prototype framework was then produced for comment, out of which we then produced a database leading to the consultation draft which has been published today. That consultation draft has a 3-month consultation period leading up to the 15th of July. If we go back to the previous papers we've published for consultation, we've had over 200 responses from a number of different organisations around the world. Obviously, we're looking for a very broad range of commentary from a number of different stakeholders. The IIRC is very keen to know your views, either positive or negative. This is a genuine consultation process, with the aim of delivering the final framework in December 2013. So this is quite an ambitious timetable that we're trying to hit. So let me now switch hats, and put my HSBC corporate repairer's hat on and give my sense of where we are today. I think there is a sense that annual reports and accounts have become a financial compliance exercise. That compliance approach is very much buttressed in corporate reporting by checklists, and when I look at my own organisation, we have a checklist of checklists to make sure we've completed all the checklists. HSBC has listings in 5 different stock exchanges around the world. We comply with international accounting standards, and frankly those are overlapping, but they are not identical requirements, and obviously we as a large multinational corporate try and produce an annual report and accounts which welds together those conflicting demands and try and make it understandable. But it remains a challenge, and obviously society and a broad range of stakeholders are very interested in our activities. Frankly, there's also been a tendency over the years to what I call the sort of parking lot problem, that various worthy bodies would like corporations to publish information. There's no natural place for them to do so, so various people suggest that those disclosures are parked in the annual report, and what that does is then to expand the number of pages and to do it in a quite fragmented manner. I would say our own experience, and this wouldn't be unique to the banking industry, is that the pressure from the regulatory community and elsewhere is always to add disclosure. It's quite rare you actually see a project which actually removes disclosure, and that's maybe one of the challenges which we all face. And I would actually say that, in my experience, it's been quite difficult to bring together an effective forum of corporates, institutional investors, and those that are responsible for setting the rules. And I'll give an example later on of some recent experience that we've had in the Enhanced Disclosure Task Force, where that has been a very good experience of an example of how such a forum can be produced. I have to say, the IIRC is a good example of what can be done when you actually bring like-minded people together to try and tackle an important problem. Many of you will be familiar with the year that HSBC's annual report reached 500 pages, and there was the problem of the post office, etc., and people were concerned about their domestic pets being crushed by the document going through the letterbox, etc. We embarked on a very heavy program after that. And why is HSBC, why do we focus on annual report? We are unique, I believe, in that when we release our results, typically at the end of February each year, we actually publish the full annual report and accounts. We also publish a close on 100-page regulatory document known as the Pillar 3 document. And our endeavour is we hit the market with all material information, financial and risk, on the same day. So we do a lot of corporate reporting, we do it frequently, and it matters hugely to HSBC that it's conducted to a high standard. You will see that there has been a reduction in the size of our corporate reports from 2009 to 2010. You'll also see the inexorable rise to 2012, where we released close on 700 pages of investor material at the end of 2012. That in itself, from our perspective, creates a challenge. When you're releasing that degree of information to the market, it can provide a barrier in and of itself. We do a huge amount of work trying to structure our documents to bring out the relevant, to try and stress what's new in the year. But the sheer size and volume of our annual reports and our investor relations material can provide a barrier to many. So when we look at integrated reporting, what appeals to us? I think number one is its strategic view. It is very transparent. We believe it fundamentally aligns corporate reporting with a long-term investor perspective, enabling an investor and the management to identify and report on what they believe are the sustainable success factors in their business. The broadening of the corporate reporting agenda beyond just the financial to the 6 capitals broadens out the agenda for discussion and provides information to the market and internally, which would be of benefit. We are not looking for more information, we are looking for better quality information, more relevant information. So this is not about producing another 100 pages, this is about producing better information, not just more. I would say that IR would bring the benefit of clearly identifying the long-term viability of a company's business model and, in today's society, very importantly, its social license to operate. It will present the risks and opportunities faced by the company in meeting its strategic goals and would identify critically any resources that it's dependent on in securing its long-term viability. And when you look at the draft framework, there are some very interesting examples of companies who do face such critical dependencies within their businesses. From what we've seen within the pilot program, there's not only external benefits that we would expect a company to benefit from, but also internally. When you actually sit down with senior people, the top team, and address a question like, why is our business model going to mean that we are sustainable in the long term? That in and of itself sometimes can be a question which either board or the top team may not have addressed as fully as it should. So let me just close by giving another example of a forum which was very effective. So many of you will have heard of the Enhanced Disclosure Task Force. This was established by the Financial Stability Board in 2012. It had 3 co-chairs. I was one of them. The head of global credit research at PIMCO was the second, and the former head of risk at Deutsche Bank was the third. We produced a report in 2012, and the task force was 30 people from around the world. There were people from risk, from finance. There were a dozen institutional investors, rating agencies, and the major audit firms. And we were presented with a very straightforward challenge. Come up with recommendations to improve the risk disclosures by banks on a voluntary basis. So I remember we held the first meeting, which we held in HSBC in London, and we sat in a room, and the first thing we said was, we'd like to hear from the investors what you think of bank risk disclosures. And the first thing we were told from the investors is, well, the first thing they said is you're trading generally below book value, but we knew that. Second thing they said was, one of the reasons why there is a discount at the moment is that we find banks' business models complex and opaque, and we find your business models difficult to understand, and we don't understand how your business model is reflected in the risk that you run, and how your business model leads to financial transactions resulting in cash flows and income and assets and liabilities in the balance sheet. So the first thing the banking industry should do is actually address the lack of transparency in its business model. When you fast forward into integrated reporting, that critical challenge that the investors laid down to the banks for their risk disclosures absolutely, from our perspective, is at the heart of integrated reporting, and that's one reason why we believe integrated reporting on my own industry would be very beneficial. So that concludes my remarks for today.